Oh, wait, nope, not yet, but maybe.
It is.
Live on
It says it is.
All right, my computer is a little slow. So welcome to everybody who's on Facebook Live. I'm going to go ahead and broadcast so everybody who's joining Zoom can come in and say hello as well. So that's exciting. So our first two guests are already here with us. So hi, Abby. Hello, Jonathan. So Jonathan, while we wait for all of our attendees to come join us, can you give us a quick tour of that amazing house that's over your shoulder right now?
Yes, our antique bird mansion happens to be in our dining room. Yeah, it's like from 1940. It was in someone's backyard. Bought it at an antique shop, and here it is. It's kind of grungy inside still, but we always put like little figures like hanging out on the front porch, and yeah, it's just wild to think that was in someone's backyard, right?
Yeah, like truly outdoors.
Yeah,
it's a real bird mansion.
Go on a tour.
Yeah.
Like these are actual shingles, right? So yeah, glassed windows.
I just love it.
That art teachers have in their homes, right? That's a whole segment.
Oh my gosh.
I love everybody who just like signed on right in the middle of that, and they're like, what are these people doing right now?
I thought this was a distance learning webinar, not a bird mansion webinar. Surprise.
Hey, we can multitask. We can do both. So, cool. All right. Well, Jonathan, Abby, and I saw Kit is here too. Hello, Kit.
Hi, guys.
All of our super exciting presenters are already here, but we're going to shut them off for just a bit and invite them back in a little while. So we'll see you guys a little bit later. All right. So Amanda, are we ready to officially start things off?
We're ready to officially start things off. Yes.
All right. Sounds good. Hello, everybody. Welcome to week 6 of our webinar. Sadly, this is going to be the final webinar in the series, but we are still really happy to be here. Happy to be guiding you through the next hour. My name is Tim Bogatz, and with me, as always, is Amanda Hine.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
All right, I think we are all super happy to be here. And each week before we dive into all of our presentations, we try and share just a little bit about some updates on the AOEU website that we think can be helpful or think can be valuable to you as teachers. So Amanda, let me turn it over to you and you can share everything that's new.
All right, there's a lot of really good stuff this week. As always, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to share a few articles that went up on the site this week. So one is called how to talk to kids about their art. And this is a really cool article that helps you help your families, your students' families actually talk about their art at home. There's a really, really good download here that I want to draw your attention to called How to Talk to Kids About Their Art. And it gives some really good swaps. Like instead of saying, what is it? You can say, tell me about your artwork. I know I've made that mistake with my own kid, like cool horse. And it's like, that is not a horse, mom. Like that's, you know, whatever. So it also has a really good prompt here at the bottom about identifying elements of art and principles of design with kids. So just kind of helping them talk about their art at home since you're not there to facilitate that discussion for them. The next one is how to harness the power of art during uncertain times. So this is a really good uplifting article if you are needing some really exciting things that are art related to maybe jolt you out of your slump, or if you're feeling kind of weary at this point. There's some really good ideas in here from Abby. I love this surprise art here. Just a super cool idea to leave art with your Instagram handle. And I know Abby has been talking back and forth with people in her community who have taken this art. So there are a lot of great ideas there that you can dig into. There's also one called Now is the Perfect Time to Avoid Burnout and Practice Resilience. Again, just a really great article about how to kind of dig deep and get through this time in a way that feels okay for you. So I would encourage you to check that one out. And then we have a very exciting article called Introducing K-12 Art Online with the Art of Education University. And this is all about our newest course. So this is a 3-credit course. I'm sorry, that is incorrect. It is a 3-week course that is worth 1 credit. And it's a graduate level course put on by AOEU. It's been developed just recently. This happened and we thought, what do our teachers need right now? And so this is a really cool way to take what you've been learning in the webinars or the ideas you've seen on social media and actually put them into practice in your own classroom. So a lot of times in the chat, we see people ask questions about their particular situations and have other teachers jump in and answer that. And I know that the teachers asking the questions really appreciate that. And that's something that's really awesome about our courses, because it is all art teachers in your course. And so you can ask things about your specific teaching situation, about your specific students, and get feedback from your instructor and from the other art teachers in your class. So I think it's going to be a really great class. Also, online learning isn't going anywhere. You could take this information and use it, if we're in this situation next fall. It's going to make you indispensable to your team, to your art team, to your school. If you know how to teach online effectively, people are going to be looking for that in the future. And finally, maybe it's time that you want to kind of take these skills and expand them. Like, now that you know how to teach online, like, could you teach kids all around the world? Could you do an online summer camp? If your in-person summer camp gets closed, there's lots of different ways to apply this knowledge. So it's research-based, and I think it's going to be awesome, and it's going to give you ideas that you can take into your classroom right away. So we have an article about that up. You can also check out the course landing page if you want more information about that course. So Tim, do you want to go ahead and tell us about what the podcasts are about this week?
I always want to tell you what the podcasts are about. So we had a really fun one. Lena Rodriguez, my favorite art history friend, and I got together to talk art history. You've seen the quarantine house memes going around. We decided to talk our way through an art history one, and it was really entertaining. People seemed to love the episode. So give that a listen if you have the time. And then Nick Hahn on Everyday Art Room, which just came out today, was talking about sharing the work that we're doing, sharing our kids' artwork, and just how, like, right now is a great time to focus on advocacy. And she has some really, really good tips for that. So a really helpful episode there as well.
Awesome. If this is your first time joining us or you haven't been here in a while, I just want to remind you that the 5 previous webinars, in addition to this one, are or will be available on the AOEU website. So we have a coronavirus page where you can find resources. They're linked there. Each webinar also has its own article in the magazine, so you can find it there. We've covered so many topics this past month and a half, including lesson ideas and tech platforms and virtual meeting tips and mindfulness and mental health. So don't forget to check the past ones out. Remember, there are a lot of awesome downloads and resources that you can access with all of the webinars. I just encourage you to go back and check them out. So finally, like Tim mentioned at the beginning, this is going to be our final webinar in this series. It's been such an overwhelmingly positive and moving experience to be here with you all week after week. We've really enjoyed hanging out and having uplifting conversations with our guests and with all of you in the chat. But while the webinar is ending, it doesn't mean our team is going to stop producing content. We have our amazing team of writers for the magazine. We have our 2 podcasts who are going to be continuing to address issues as they come up. And finally, I just want to reiterate our appreciation for all of the educators who are sharing stuff on their own platforms, social media. That's not going anywhere either. And we're also going to continue bringing things into some of our other platforms like Pro and Flex. So if you've been enjoying this webinar series and you're wondering, like, will you guys ever do this again? I'm going to turn it back to Tim to talk about our next big online hangout.
Yeah, so next up, coming July 30th, we have the Art Ed Now conference, which is kind of like this webinar, but way bigger and way better. It's an amazing all-day live event. And our goal for this summer's conference is to just set you up for the next school year. But, nobody knows what that school year is going to look like just yet. So we're going to keep working all summer to figure out exactly what teachers need and hopefully have that for you that day. Just have some awesome presenters, some great resources and downloads for you. And I think most importantly, that art teaching community, like Amanda just mentioned, the chat is always amazing. Connecting with other art teachers is always amazing. And to be able to do that for a full day as you start thinking about what the next school year is going to look like, and collecting everything that you need to get ready for that is the perfect time to do that. So if you're enjoying this webinar, you will absolutely love the Art Ed Now conference. You can go check out everything at artednow.com. And we actually have a deal going right now for $50 off the conference, which is amazing. So it's for people who are coming to the webinar. If you go to artednow.com and in the cart, when you go to checkout, just enter the code NOW50, NOW50, and it'll give you $50 off your registration, which is an amazing deal for a full day of PD, all sorts of hours for you and everything you need to get ready for the next school year. All right, now circling back to the webinar, let me just give you a little bit of a rundown on everything to expect tonight. I saw a couple of people in the chat. This is the first time that they've been able to attend live, so that's very exciting. But what we're going to have over the next hour is just some guests sharing some of their best ideas. Downloads and links and resources are going to be available for you all night, and we'll make sure that we link those in the chat throughout the night. The chat is the place where all of the conversation is going to be happening. If you're in Zoom here, you should see it on the right side of the screen. If it's not there, there's a chat button on the bottom of the screen that'll make it pop up, and a small drop down that you can click on there right above where you type, and just make sure that you're sending messages to everyone. So it's not just coming to like me and Amanda. We want everybody to see that. We want to get the conversation going there. And then Lindsay Moss will be in there to share downloads, articles, podcasts, the links to all of that stuff. Everything you need will be in the chat. And yeah, like I said, just make sure you're talking to all the other art teachers that are here with you. And if you're on Facebook Live, we would love for you to leave comments and questions there throughout the night. And finally, we're recording the webinar. We are archiving the chat so you can access everything after the fact. We'll send out an email with the recording. It'll be at the top of the AOEU Facebook page, and it'll be on the website as well.
Awesome. Okay, so before we dive in with our presenters, let's just talk a little bit about the plan. So tonight we really wanted to put together something that would speak to the fact that this is going to be most of our realities, at least to the end of this school year, and who knows, next fall or winter. So we wanted to kind of focus on how to survive this for the long haul. And so first up, Abby Shukai is going to be sharing some additional lessons that can engage students during extended school closures. We know kids check out regularly in our own classrooms when the weather gets nice, and now that they're at home and the weather is nice, it's even harder. So Abby has some really cool ideas to share with us. Next, Jonathan Jurevich is going to be discussing the importance of social and emotional learning and sort of how to help your students feel their best during this time. I know at least my own kids are it's kind of starting to wear at them. They were pretty excited to be home, and then this, I said we're not going back, and they started to feel differently about that. So I'm super excited to learn from him tonight. And then finally, Kit Lang is going to be here from Hong Kong. It's actually tomorrow there right now. And she is going to talk about making a long-term plan for distance learning. So if you listen to Everyday Art Room, you might have heard Kit on there. She has some really good ideas to share with us, and she's been doing this a lot longer than any of us have. So we're excited to learn from her too.
Yeah, and then just before Abby gets started here, I think Amanda and I both just wanted to reiterate how thankful we've been to have such a supportive community here with us each week. The camaraderie, the support that people have been showing to our presenters and to each other in the chat has been just really heartwarming. It makes us feel really good about what we're doing here. So thank you all for that. And with that, let's introduce Abby Shukai.
Yay. Okay, so our first guest is Abby. She wears a lot of different hats at AOEU, including writing for our magazine, managing our social media accounts, and creating lots of other content. She's also an incredible middle school art educator. So Abby, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day here in Omaha. So yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So if you were here week 1, Abby shared some of her favorite lessons to try from home, and they were really popular. And so tonight she's back with even more ideas that incorporate minimal art supplies, limited access to tech, and ways to collaborate virtually. So go ahead, Abby, take it away.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen with you here in just a second. But just kind of to get you guys in the mindset of where I've been in the past. Oh, I think this is week 7 or 8 that I've been doing this now. My mindset has shifted a little bit from, week 1 to now, and it's given me time to like reflect on what's working for my students, what do my students need, and I kind of narrowed it down into a theme, and that theme is observation and having students be creative. And that's something that we always want our students to be. We want them to be creative, and now is the perfect time to do that. So you're going to see that theme a lot through some of these ideas that I am going to be sharing with you. So along with that creativity, I've really been challenging my students to explore. And so that exploration and that observation part is going to come in with a lot of the things that I'm going to be sharing with you. So first off, if you were here week 1, and there's an article, it's called like six minimal project ideas or something, but it'll be linked for you, and you can find it on the AOEU magazine. But week 1, I shared with you the coffee painting ideas. That's one of the things that works really well if our students don't have paint at home. And I'm really trying to not create lessons for my students that are medium focused, but instead I want them to explore different things. So for instance, and there's been videos created for all of these techniques as well, that are on the AOEU magazine and on the AOEU YouTube channel. So if you want to share it in your Google Classroom or something like that, you can do that. But painting with mud and washable markers, and then as well, I have a little better of an image here, and don't know if you can see that very well, but painting with spices can kind of create a watercolor effect as well. Something I'm very, very conscious about when I'm doing this with my students is I don't want to be taking away from food sources for them. So I'm challenging them to explore and be observant with the things that are in their cupboards. Like, hey, do you have some paprika in the bag that maybe you use for one recipe and it's been sitting in there forever? So I've been trying to challenge them to kind of put on this exploration hat, and the students who are doing it are really enjoying the process of doing that. And that's kind of what art is all about. And this is a great opportunity to show our students how the process of art making is really important. So I'm going to share my screen with you now, and these slides are also linked for you. All right, here we go. So, all right, so some homemade paint ideas that you might choose to use with your students are spices, coffee and tea, markers, mud, chalk paint. There's some really cool recipes to make your own chalk paint to get outdoors, which is perfect for this time of year. And the latest ones that I've been experimenting with were grass and dandelions. So I was doing this a couple of days ago where my grass in my yard doesn't have very many dandelions, which I know isn't a problem, but for this particular project it was. So my neighbors probably thought I was crazy because I was cutting and stealing the dandelions for them from their yard so I could do this. But I was actually creating paint out of them just by boiling them with water. And I was talking to my family and consumer science teacher, and I was like, hey, you guys boil water in your FCS classes. And so for my middle school students, it's totally something that you can do, and you can create your own paint with it, which is kind of cool. The dandelions kind of make a mustard color, as you will. It looks kind of gross in the bowl there. But when you boil the grass, it actually kind of makes more of a lemon yellow color instead of a green, which is kind of interesting to do. So I'm going to be creating some videos for these that will be up on the YouTube channel, hopefully in the next week. So that's something that you can share with your students too. But I wanted to share this idea with you from an artist, and I'm not even going to attempt to say this artist's name because I'm going to butcher it, but he is a Russian artist. And I came across this activity that he uses the silhouettes of different shapes and goes out into the world and takes these photographs. So that's something that I shared with my students. And, you know, it's the perfect season here because the grass is getting green. We have flowers and everything is blooming. So what I had my students do is they needed to just come up with a design, like a paper silhouette, and all they needed was paper and scissors to do this, and challenge them to go outside at a safe distance and come up with 3 different images that they could use to make it look different. Now you could take this a step further by using different colors of paper, or even like having them paint something. But it's interesting how the image looks so different, and it's been a really good way for students to really challenge their thinking and really be observant. So coming in with that theme of observation even more, a few years ago, I had an interview with Lori Richmond, who she's an illustrator, and she did this project that was called A View from My Run. And what it did was, you know, she would go run for 30 minutes. She would come back and create an artwork in that same amount of time, which was 30 minutes. And something that she observed from that run. And at this point in our lives, like, you know, when we're stuck at home, our days can probably become a little bit boring, or, you know, might not seem that anything interesting is happening. So we had this as a challenge a while ago, but this is something that I'm challenging my students to do, to really observe how are your days different? Like, what are the things that you see every day? And so there's the link to the article that you can get this download from too. And like I said, it's like 2 or 3 years old, but it's really, really perfect for what we're dealing with today. So what it asks you to do is a view from my day challenge. So you choose an activity of the day and observe, like pay attention to it, and then create something based off of that. And if you do search that hashtag, that's a view from my day on Instagram, you can see some cool images that have been shared with that. So the link is on this slide here that you guys can get that as well. So the last thing that I want to share with you is just something more about bringing community together. So I first came across this idea, a local art gallery called the Kaneko Gallery. It's funded by June Kaneko, the artist here local in Omaha, Nebraska. They came out with a global project that's called the Tessellation Project. And what it is a global community project that asks students to create an 8x8 image. So just to create a piece of art, and it can be anything. And they suggested giving the theme of isolation, but people can do anything. And they create an 8x8 inch piece of art on whatever material they have. They can make as many as they want. They could do it with their family. And these are the guidelines that were taken directly from the Kaneko website. But they just ask that you keep it family friendly, just because we need some positive vibes during this time. So then what they're doing with those is students, and I've had my students participate in this, they can either like send them to me and then I'll submit them for them, or they can submit them directly at the Kaneko website. But what the Kaneko Gallery is doing is they are housing all of these as like a virtual exhibit or a piece on their website. But then eventually they are going to, when galleries can open and things like that, they're going to take all of these amazing pieces of artwork. And this is just a sample of what's on their website right now. They're going to take some pieces of these amazing, and they're going to put them all together as an installation that hopefully people can come and visit. So it's super cool, and everybody from around the world can participate. So a couple of things that you're going to find in the resources that you can download is maybe you want to participate in this global project, but maybe you just want to do it with your students. And so we've provided a list of artists that might be really great for you to give to your students, to kind of give them a little bit of inspiration, give them an opportunity to learn about some new artists, and they might even create some pieces inspired by them. But that shape template, what you can do is you can give that shape template to your students and they can create on that. So maybe like next week you're like, okay, everybody's going to be creating in the hexagon shape. And the reason why we're giving you this template is because I know for me, I have to not only submit things online, but I have to provide a paper copy for those students that don't have access to internet or computers or a printer and things like that. So they can pick ours up from the school. So this could be something that you provide in there. And then as students submit everything in, and I've just started doing this with my students. So then I'm starting to digitally mash them together, the shapes that they're doing. And, I'll be able to share that out virtually as a little art installation from this time that we're apart. And, when we are back in school, hopefully we can do some cool stuff with it together. So, those are some of the ideas that I have going on right now. And I hope you can use some of those minimal ideas to help your students, continue to explore, create, and observe the world around you.
All right, that's awesome. Now, Abby, can I ask you just really quickly, like, what was your students' reaction to the tessellation project when you shared that with them? Did they seem excited to get into that?
Yeah, well, I think it was like cool for them because many of them had like been there before, as it is local to us, but also, they're like, oh, they can create whatever they wanted. But then it was really powerful if they chose to use the theme of isolation, from a 7th or 8th grader turning those things in, like their view of isolation during this time was pretty significant. It's really cool to see those coming in and just how they're, using art as an emotional outlet for that.
All right, awesome. And then Lindsay just posted this in the chat, but can you tell everybody your Instagram so they can follow you?
Oh yeah, you can follow me. It's my middle school. It's at Ralston MS Art. So you can find me there.
Sounds good. Thank you, Abby.
Yes,
Thanks,
thank you.
Abby.
All right. Now, next up is going to be Jonathan Jurovich. Jonathan is an amazing art teacher from Ohio who does a lot of incredible things with social and emotional learning. Jonathan, thank you for joining us. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. Also a little nervous about my internet connection, but that's just me being honest, right?
That's just everyone's situation right now. Important things happening over the internet.
Yeah. But you know what? We talk every week about grace and understanding. And so if your internet fails on you, we will be understanding and it'll be fine. So, but Jonathan, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you and you can tell us everything we need to know about social and emotional learning.
Right, in the next 10 minutes.
Yes.
So buckle up, right? So hey everybody, yeah, my name's Jonathan Jurovich. I'm an elementary art teacher. I teach kindergarten through 5th grade just north of Columbus, Ohio. And I teach around 600 students and love every minute of it, being in the classroom with them, then also navigating this unique world we're in right now, right? And tonight we're going to talk about social and emotional learning. Here, I'm going to share my screen with you. Well, I will be. All right. So with social emotional learning, what's really interesting is I have 2 small kids, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And my 3-year-old last week had a virtual school time with all the other year-olds in their daycare. And it was hilarious. But what's funny, in the other room, my 6-year-old said to me, she is very insightful, she goes, it's like his teachers knew what he needed just to say hi. And it hit me where I was like, yeah, it wasn't like they were doing this virtual lesson for this 3-year-old. Instead, it was an opportunity for them to see one another, for them just to share their rooms, because that's what kids love to do, is run around and show like all their toys in the rooms. But it was a way for them to connect. And what that is that social and emotional learning. And it's really important all the time, if not especially right now.
And one of the things that we've been talking about here is even that idea of like, how are you feeling? But like, really, how are you feeling? Normally, everyone just says like, I'm good or I'm fine, but you know that they're not actually just good or fine. That's why I tried to be very honest. I'm really excited about being here tonight, but I am also nervous about my internet connection, and I'm gonna freeze like this, right? So when we are open and honest about the ways that we are feeling, it begins a conversation. Notice that's what Tim and Amanda did with me. They began to continue that conversation with me because I was honest about how I was feeling. Now, with my art teachers in my district, I shared with them this mood meter. This mood meter was developed by Mark Brackett from Yale. And if you see on here, there's lots of different words to describe how you're feeling. It's not just happy or sad or grumpy or sleepy. Instead, there are all of these many words that describe how you are feeling. And what I did for a professional day is I printed off little versions of these, and everyone had one throughout that PD day. And they kept moving around little sticky notes to like see how they were feeling during different times of the professional day. And we talked about like, well, what could you change about the way that you're reacting? Or what are some things that are triggering those feelings for you? The same is true at home. We have these that we've talked about using with our kids. As well, this is just a great source of words to talk about like, how are you honestly feeling? Are you feeling mellow or peaceful or lively and upbeat, right? So using this mood meter is a great way to spark that idea of like, how are you actually feeling? Mark Brackett also has a great book called Permission to Feel. If you want to check that out, it's a great read. So that again talks about these ideas of social emotional learning rooted in these ideas from the mood meter. Now, with my first graders, when I'm in the classroom, I do this exploration every year where we talk about feelings. We all sit down on the floor together and we brainstorm feelings and emotions, and I write them all up on the smartboard. And they do start out as happy and sad and then grumpy and sleepy. And then Bennett says flabbergasted, right? And then he has to explain what flabbergasted means. But the whole root of that idea is to look at self-portraits in a totally different way. I remember several years ago telling first graders that they had to make their self-portraits happy. And I regret it because we're not always happy, right? We have many different emotions. So with my first graders, we created these photo strips where they explore different emotions. And if you see on these, they've got their own ways of exploring frustrated and sleepy and angry and grumpy. They knew how to draw a self-portrait and they ran with it. And so these are all 4 little individual self-portraits that we combined all together. This would be a really engaging thing that you could do now or to remember whenever we're back with our students in the classroom, whenever that might be. And this kind of spiraled into a project that I've been working on for the past year. It's called Drawing with Mr. J. And we started a year ago with this idea, and we wrote some grants, and working with our local PBS station, we developed this web series, Drawing with Mr. J, where the idea is giving kids really ridiculous drawing concepts and then talking to them about their emotions. I kind of say it's like the Trojan horse of like emotions, right? At the beginning, we'll say like, draw a plant with a face. And then by the time we're done, we've had this conversation about like why it's okay to feel grumpy sometimes, but what do you do with that grumpy? It's completely free. It's online at wosu.org/Mr. J. We have 6 episodes up right now, and they're all about like 3 minutes long. So it's not like it's a time commitment. But again, it starts off with this drawing challenge. We open it up to the kids to draw. And then by the time we're done, we've had a real conversation about emotions that hopefully is just a conversation starter. Then hopefully they're talking to their parents that are in the room or to the other caregivers that are there, their brothers and sisters. And then when they're in the classroom, hopefully they're also having that conversation with their teacher as well. There've been a couple teachers, actually, I got this great email today from a teacher that this is part of their plans right now, is to share Drawing with Mr. J as their plans to connect to home. And this is an amazing program that I feel like everybody should know about. It's called Why You Matter. It was developed by teachers in Chelsea, Michigan, and it was developed for their students to talk about mental health, mental wellness, and to understand that like everyone matters. Like we matter to our families, we matter to our schools, we matter to our communities. And it's incredible. What they did is they took all of these photographs with people, their students and staff holding signs that explain why they matter for every student in that community. And I had heard about this project and I brought it back to my own school, and we did the same thing. Every student, every staff member, even the animals in our building, we all had them write their ideas about why they mattered and include them on these dry erase boards, so that then they were able to share with us why they believe they mattered. What did end up happening, of course, is there were those students that said, well, I don't matter. And those conversations are almost more important in the moment than those conversations that are overly joy-filled, right? Because there are those students that are struggling with that. This would be a really interesting thing to consider, maybe write grant funding for next school year, or even something to discover and kind of think over how this could work for your own school community. Do visit whyoumatter.org. They have different lesson plans on there for you to explore, and it's real life. Like, they created it because of things that were happening within their own school and discussing their own social and emotional wellness. So I shared a couple ideas with you about social and emotional learning. And what I want to do too is I want to talk to you about our own social emotional learning, right? It is really important that in this current moment, but always, that we have those people that we can go to. I know there are days where it feels like so much and it feels so heavy. We need to have those teachers, and especially those art teachers, that understand what exactly we're going through as we try to develop lessons for kids that don't have materials, or the idea that we are working with 600, 700 students or 8 grade levels, whatever it may be, making sure that we reach out to people and that we make connections with them. Tomorrow, my group of 17 elementary art teachers, we're having a Zoom call just to check in, not to have a meeting, but again, just to check in and see how everyone's doing. I'm sure we'll talk about professional things, but we'll also spend time just talking about how we're all doing, because we're in this and we're in this together. The other thing is that someone reached out to me very thoughtfully and said, I'm sure that you and your family are making so much artwork right now. And I had realized in that moment that we had spent so much time trying to cross off all of the things on the list is that we weren't. And I wasn't feeling very creative, right? I wasn't. A lot of people are like, creativity isn't canceled, right? But I wasn't feeling very creative. So I started a project that's really been helping me. And every day, this is the 13th school day, I am making little portraits of teachers that I am missing. Like today's, I made our librarian, Bridget, and it's a little piece of wood. It's a coaster probably, actually, right? And on it, what I'm doing every day is picking a different teacher that I miss, and I'm creating these little portraits with acrylic and with paint marker. And it's been really good for me, because not only do I have a goal every day, but it's getting me to stop. And as I paint them, Mitty Skinner, our kindergarten teacher, as I'm painting them, I'm thinking about all of the things that I miss about them, that I appreciate about them. And then I'm not just keeping this to myself. I'm sharing them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, because I want other people to realize why this teacher is so amazing. What's been really cool about that then is that other people are now making comments on the images that I'm posting and saying like, oh, this is why that teacher is amazing too, right? So it's something small that I started to do for myself that in the end is really helping other people have an avenue to stop and think about the other people in our lives that we really do miss, that we really do care about, and to think about their social and emotional wellness as well. So I hope that you'll check out some of these resources that I shared. Check out Drawing with Mr. J. Gosh, this has been fun. How was my internet?
You were really good until the very end there, and then you froze for me. No, it was awesome, and we were able to see and hear everything that you were sharing with us. So, Jonathan, I have one easy question and one more difficult question for you.
Yes.
First one, can people follow you on Instagram?
Yes, please do. Yeah, my Instagram is at Liberty Tree Art. It's all connected.
Liberty Tree Art. Got it. Okay. And then second thing, and I don't mean to put you on the spot with this, but it was just something that I was thinking as you were discussing all of the different lessons that you were thinking about. Have you put any thought into how you're going to start the next school year? Like how you make connections with kids after not seeing them forever? Like where are you going with that? And like what kind of a role can social and emotional learning play there?
Well, and that's the craziest part, because it feels like social emotional learning is everywhere right now. And yet a lot of teachers say, oh, it's one more extra thing. This is one more extra thing. When really it's what we've always done really well. And especially in fine arts and visual arts. I mean, it's one of the things that I think that we do really well, but it's something that we're going to have to take some time to really think through our lessons and projects and approaches to think about how are we going to be able to weave in conversations that allow our students to be the humans that they are. Some of our kids, whenever we're back in the classroom, are going to want to like hit the ground running and forget that all of this happened. And some of the students are going to be grieving because they lost grandparents in the midst of this and weren't able to attend funerals. Some of our teachers are going to want to be like, I am done. I'm ready for normalcy. I want to make my room look beautiful. I'm ready to do this. And there's going to be other teachers that are really hurting. And so it's going to be taking a moment to kind of gauge where everyone is at. There's lots of strategies for doing that. Using the mood meter, of course, is one. If you haven't heard of the zones of regulation, that's something to definitely check out. There's also a lot of great ideas from teachers on social media that talk about like check-ins, right? Where they move little clips to say like how they are feeling. But giving them the opportunity in their artwork to express themselves. Not every self-portrait has to be happy. One of my kids draws really grumpy self-portraits, and I hung one up in the hallway, and I had a teacher say, well, that shouldn't be hung up in the hallway. And I was like, that's how he expresses himself. It should be hung up in the hallway. Have you been to an art museum? So like, these are the things that we need to really be open to. And I guess for me, it's just making sure that I don't worry about how much we're getting accomplished and really focus on making sure it's meaningful for my students and for myself.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That was a really like run-on answer, but hopefully that was
a great one.
It was a great answer, and it's all the things that people are thinking about right now. And so I think just for me personally, those are all the thoughts that are bouncing around in my head, and to just have you give voice to them is really helpful. Like putting them in perspective and giving them some direction is very helpful. So thank you.
Yeah, I had a very odd year last year where I was away from my classroom for a year and then came back to it. And we redistricted, and I got new kids, and it was all right. We made those connections. We made those relationships. We rebuilt relationships after being gone for a year. The same inside jokes came back. So I'm hoping that for many of our students, a lot of that's going to be possible again.
Yeah, I think it will be. And, you know, everyone is going to be longing for connections, and so I think you're going to have a willing audience when you try and make those connections. Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Appreciate your time.
Bye. All right, well, we're moving on to our final presenter of the evening and our final presenter of the webinar series. And we're really excited to have Kit Lang with us all the way from Hong Kong. So if you missed that at the beginning, Kit is actually coming to us from the future because it's tomorrow. So she's been doing this long distance learning for quite a while now. And as I mentioned in the beginning, she was just on Everyday Art Room sharing her ideas. And when I listened to that, we knew we had to have her on with us here tonight. So we're so happy she's here to share with us this evening.
All right. So Kit, just first of all, welcome. How are you doing? How is your morning going so far?
Great. I'm going to use Jonathan's mood meter. I'm feeling energized. It's about 8:45 here in Hong Kong, and it's Friday, so can't complain. Feeling excited about the start of the weekend. Yeah.
Very cool. So I know you have been doing distance learning, distance teaching for a lot longer than we have here in the States, but can you tell us just a little bit about what your situation is looking like right now?
Yes, so today marks the completion of 11 weeks of distance learning as schools in Hong Kong have been physically closed since the end of January. So January 23rd to be in fact. And schools continue to be closed for the foreseeable future. The Hong Kong Education Bureau actually came out a month ago saying they won't consider opening schools until we have 30 days consecutive with no locally transmitted cases. So there is a glimmer of hope. Just last week, we had our first day since mid-March with no cases. Despite sharing 19 borders with mainland China, we have 1,200 cases. So that's where we are right now as where I am in Hong Kong. In regards to where I'm at with distance learning, I am beginning to change things up. So I've been doing this for a while now, and for the first 6 weeks, I kept my curriculum going because we didn't know how long it would be. So I created a plan just to have my lessons roll on. So I am required to teach one lesson per week per grade level. So I teach 4 different grade levels, so 4 lessons per week. And what I did was create it kind of like what I would normally do in a normal week at school. So the first lesson we started with sketching, then the next week we outlined in marker, and then the following week added color and texture. So that was great. It really worked for the first 6 weeks. It helped me kind of know what to expect, and it was the same kind of framework that the kids were used to. However, after 6 weeks, I noticed that engagement started to drop off. So I kind of reevaluated and thought, let's switch it up. So I started doing more art history and doing online assessments, and not only encouraging the kids to just make their own art, but also keeping that language and keeping them practiced on how to be able to talk about art. So that was great. But again, I started to get less video views and the engagement went down. So right now, I'm switching things up again, and that will continue for the rest of the year. I am collaborating with some of the other specialists at our school and creating a 20-minute TV show like lesson where there are 5 individual segments that focus on drawing and movement, all related to the elements of art. That is paired with then a Zoom call with each class per week. So I'm getting the connection with the kids face to face, which they are loving. And I think that was a piece that was missing for the first part of my home learning. And then we're having the episodes. I'll share the link in the chat. It allows families to watch together and then be able to create art afterwards together. So that's kind of where I'm at right now with things in Hong Kong and with my own distance learning.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a lot of really nice ideas there. And you talked a little bit about what you're doing with your colleagues. And I know when you and I had talked before, you had some plans or some ideas at least to kind of connect with your community, maybe bring in some artists. Can you share just maybe some of those ideas or some of those things you've done in order to make those connections?
Yes, so we all need connections right now. And I know all of our presenters have touched on that, and that's the topic today. So whether it is your art teacher tribe on Instagram or other specialists in your school, reach out to people that you trust and who inspire you and just connect. So that's what I've been doing with this collaborative project with my other specialists. I'm working with some other teachers that I met through Instagram with some ideas, and also other creatives out there. So we are currently setting up some Zoom calls with different authors and illustrators. So a few weeks ago, we hosted Mac Barnett, the author of Circle and Square, and he was on a Zoom call with 100 of our families. And he read some stories and took questions from the kids. So that was an amazing opportunity. We just reached out to him on Instagram, and I've been able to also line up Barney Salzberg to read The Beautiful Oops to our students, similar kind of read aloud style, and take questions from kids. So it was just kind of a Hail Mary pass and reaching out to people through social media and just seeing what people were willing to do. And the fact that we could get these amazing authors and illustrators to come in was great. And we're using that It's encouraging for us to try to continue to reach out to people to see if they want to come and talk to our community, to fill their bucket, but also obviously to just get the kids excited and share creatively.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
So looking ahead a little bit further still, you said, you kind of started one way and then you switched gears and then you switched gears again. Do you have any plans for the coming weeks? Kind of what does your end of your school year look like? Is that approaching? And how are you maybe going to shift gears or continue doing what you're doing now to kind of end the year?
Yeah, I think it's important to note, I'm encouraging, and I definitely, with people that are continuing the home learning journey, is to pick something to do for a while. So do things in chunks for you, for your students, and most importantly for the parents. Parents are having to navigate so much stuff and it's overwhelming and it's confusing at times. So trying to do something for a chunk of time is important. And then once you do decide to switch it up, which is where I'm at, I'm trying to keep this same format of releasing 20-minute episodes that are rich in art making and art appreciation, coupled with the Zoom call. And that will be that same format for the rest of the year. So we just started that last week. So there'll be 7 episodes, each focusing on a different element of art, and then some extension activities for kids to create more art. And then having the Zoom calls to share about their experience with art making and to reflect on each episode and what they're getting up to at home with their art making experience. So yeah, I really encourage the switching up, but make sure to think of the parents, because we're not the only subject that they are now teaching and facilitating and guiding their students now through their children. So that's kind of what we're planning for the rest of the year. And that's what it looks like. And then the end of the year, we're going to try to make it celebratory. It's been a crazy year, and we are going to try to line up several different musicians, artists, illustrators, and do more of these Zoom calls as kind of a celebration, just of creativity and resilience, and just sharing from different creatives. For us, which is amazing as an educator to partner with these people, but also again for our families.
Totally. I don't think everyone can see me because I don't think that's the viewer in, but I was really nodding when you were speaking to the parent part, because even as a teacher myself and an art teacher, like all of the stuff coming home is kind of incredible. So I love your advice about picking one thing, sticking with it for not just you, but for your students' families as well. So also, if you haven't seen Kit's videos, we need to get the link in here because they are amazing. So I have one kind of final question for you from us, and then we'll see if anybody in the chat has anything else that they want to ask. But do you have any advice? Like, you've been doing this a lot longer than most of us watching. Do you have any advice for teachers as they are looking toward the next few months? Like, if you could leave them with one piece of advice, what would that be?
Can I have 2 pieces of advice?
You can definitely have 2, yes.
Okay. The first one is, don't take it personally if your engagement goes down. Just kind of echoing what you just said, Amanda. There's so many reasons why kids and parents and families might not be watching your video, or they're visiting your blog or turning in work. And just know that there's so much going on at home with these kids that it's not because it's not engaging. And just because they're not tuning in one week, don't try to up the ante the other week. So just, I guess that's the first point, is don't take it personally if you have low views on your video that week, or work isn't being turned in. Because, second point, this race is long and it is a marathon and not a sprint. So you need to pace yourself. Some weeks you will feel highly motivated and have a very positive outlook, and others you'll struggle to get out of your pajamas and just wallow in Netflix. Yes, I'm still watching. It's not about what you get done each day. It's about thinking about the bigger picture and trying to do small things every day to train, to build, whether it's tuning into a webinar or looking on the Art of Ed for professional development opportunities, or simply liking a post of another art educator and connect that way on Instagram. Those things are really, really important because this race is going to be long and we're in it together. So pace yourself. So we don't know where the finish line is. So pace.
Yeah, that is.
So well said.
Can we ask you a couple questions from the audience here?
Sure.
First off, you mentioned the videos and how they can be kind of interactive with families. The question from Mary Elliott was, what are the things you do with the family, or what do you ask the families to do when they watch the videos?
Yes. So I'm a child of the 80s, and I'm a big fan of Pee Wee Herman's Playhouse, Art Attack, just all of the television shows that influenced me. So what I've created is this variety show where I have a character that is exercising using different shapes to turn their body into. So I would encourage the children at home to stand up and make shapes with their body, and they need a partner to make a circle. So that might be a way to get them up. I do a lot of call and response. So I even feature the Art of Ed Art Room mantra from Art Room Glitter Fairy, and just getting kids to do the actions and say the mantra at the television. And then I do have some art demo videos in the actual variety show, in the episode, that they will do after or pause during. So I'm always thinking about what the kids can do either during the show or after the show. This idea was born from the need of parents. Parents are working from home, and to give them 20 minutes that a child could watch this video that is all about art, and it's very much edutainment. And then once they've finished that conference call, mom's done with the conference call, she can go and then support their child with the games from the show and the art activities afterwards. So hopefully that answers your questions. It's not just about consumption, it's about getting the kids up and moving and then creating art afterwards or during.
Yeah, very cool. And then a lot of people were asking about sort of how you connect with those illustrators and authors. Like, how do you reach out to them? And then when you get a response, like, how do you facilitate those discussions? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I simply follow them on Instagram and then send them a personal message. With Barney Salzberg, I actually dressed up like the beautiful Oops for a Book-a-ween. I made that was my costume for a Book-a-ween a few years back. And we just got chatting. I just shared the photo with him. And that's the best part about social media, that we can connect with people anywhere. So it was a bit of a risk. I didn't know if he would respond, but just try. It can't hurt. And I think everyone is looking for those connections. So the idea that an author could connect with 100+ students over a Zoom call is exciting for them too. And getting to see the reactions of children and families while they read their stories. So once an author does, or an artist or a musician does agree, I simply get their personal email account, and then I just start an open dialogue about what they would like to share. And then just some ideas about what would be a good kind of agenda for the call, and then what our families would enjoy, and then kind of set it up with a Zoom link and get some support from another teacher to help monitor while we're facilitating the Zoom call. And that's kind of it. So the first one was a lot of work, but once you've done it once, you kind of get the framework and it gets easier and easier. So hopefully that answers your question. So just slip into their DMs.
Slide into the DMs.
Slide in there. Give it a go.
All right, awesome. Well, Kit, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to hear from you, just hear your advice, learn from your expertise. It's been wonderful. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
All right, that is going to be all for us, everybody. If you missed part of this webinar, or you want to watch it again, or share it with someone, or even just watch the other 5 that we've done again, you can see all of those on the AOEU Facebook page, as well as the AOEU website. If you pre-registered for the webinar, you'll receive an email with a link to the recording as well. And as we tell you every week, keep coming back to the AOEU site for lessons, resources, ideas, support, whatever else you might need. We're going to continue to do our best to support you as we continue to move through this, as Kit said, this long, long race. We don't know where the finish line is, but hopefully we can continue to race with you here.
And before we sign off, we wanted to give a few very important thank yous. So thank you to everyone at AOEU who was involved in making this webinar a possibility. There's a lot of people besides Tim and I behind the scenes that are making this happen right now. We want to give a very special shout out to Lindsay Moss, who has been in the chat with you here on Zoom every single week, and Abby Shukai, who has been with you in the chat on Facebook every single week. And finally, thank you to all of our guests who have joined us over the past 6 weeks. We've had such amazing presenters, and we feel so thankful that they were able to come and share with us. And before we leave, I would be remiss if I didn't thank all of our amazing participants. It's just been really powerful to see what a supportive community we have and what a supportive community art teachers are. And we've been so happy to share all of these experiences directly with you. So we'll do it again in July for the Summer Art Ed Now conference, and we hope to see so many of you there. Thanks again, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.